In the sun-scorched lands of southern Spain, whispers of a forgotten empire echo across the millennia. A civilization that once commanded the wealth of the ancient world now lies buried beneath layers of soil and silence. This is Tartessos, Europe's first great empire that vanished without a trace. For centuries, it was dismissed as mere legend, a fantastical tale spun by ancient Greek historians and biblical scribes. But the shadows of history have begun to recede, revealing a truth more extraordinary than fiction. The ancient texts speak of a kingdom of unimaginable wealth, where silver flowed like water, and kings dwelled in palaces of gold and ivory. The Bible mentions the mysterious land of Tarshish, believed by many scholars to be Tartessos, as the source of King Solomon's legendary riches. For 3 centuries, this enigmatic civilization dominated the Western Mediterranean, controlling vast mineral resources and trade routes that stretched from the Atlantic to the eastern shores of the Great Sea. And then, in the 6th century BCE, Tartessos simply disappeared. No epic battle, no recorded conquest, no gradual decline. One of the most powerful kingdoms of the ancient world was erased from history. For decades, archaeologists dismissed Tartessos as myth, but in recent years, the sands of Andalusia have begun to yield their secrets. In 2023, archaeologists made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the academic community. Near the town of Castuera, they unearthed 5 life-sized stone busts, the first known human representations of the Tartessian people. These haunting faces stare out at us across 2,600 years, their expressions a mixture of pride and defiance. They are the faces of a people who perhaps sensed the darkness that was about to engulf them. The story of Tartessos begins around 1200 BCE as the Bronze Age collapsed across the eastern Mediterranean. While mighty empires fell into ruin, a new power was rising in the far west. The indigenous peoples of southern Iberia, blessed with access to rich mineral deposits, began to forge a distinct cultural identity that would eventually blossom into the kingdom of Tartessos. What set the Tartessians apart was their extraordinary mastery of metallurgy. Their lands were rich in copper, tin, silver, and gold, the precious resources that fueled the ancient world's economies. Recent excavations have revealed evidence of metallurgical workshops centuries ahead of their time. The Tartessians had developed techniques for extracting silver from jarosite ores, a complex process that requires precise control of temperature and chemical reactions. This knowledge would not be rediscovered in Europe until the Middle Ages. Perhaps the most tantalizing connection lies in the biblical references to Tarshish. According to 1 Kings 10:22, once every 3 years it returned, carrying gold, silver, and ivory, and apes and baboons. In 2024, archaeologists working at the Tartessian sanctuary of La Mata made an extraordinary discovery. Among the ritual offerings, they found fragments of Greek ceramics dating to the 8th century BCE, the exact same ceramic styles found at biblical sites in Israel, including locations associated with Solomon's reign. This suggests a direct connection between the 2 regions. Even more compelling are inscriptions at Rio Tinto mines, mentioning a tribute to the king beyond the rising sun. Could this be a reference to Solomon, whose fame had spread even to the distant western edges of the known world? The most enigmatic Tartessian site is Cancho Roano. This massive complex with its thick walls and labyrinthine chambers appears to have been a center of astronomical observation. The central chamber is aligned precisely with the summer solstice, while secondary chambers track the movements of key stars and planets. The layout bears a striking resemblance to aspects of Solomon's temple, suggesting a shared architectural and astronomical tradition. What has been suppressed in conventional historical narratives is the true nature of Tartessos's fall. The traditional account suggests that the kingdom simply faded away, but archaeological evidence tells a far more sinister story. In 2024, excavations at the site of Casas del Turuñuelo revealed something extraordinary and horrifying. The entire complex had been ritually sacrificed in a single, catastrophic event. Over 100 horses and other animals had been slaughtered, valuable artifacts deliberately broken, and the buildings systematically burned before being carefully buried. This was not abandonment, but a deliberate ceremonial end, a culture committing ritual suicide in the face of some unimaginable threat. Similar evidence of deliberate destruction has been found at other Tartessian sites, all dating to the late 6th century BCE. This coincides exactly with the expansion of Carthage, the powerful North African city-state establishing its own trading empire across the Western Mediterranean. What makes this particularly significant is what Tartessos represented. Unlike the hierarchical, militaristic societies that dominated the ancient Mediterranean, Tartessian culture appears to have been remarkably egalitarian. The distribution of wealth in Tartessian settlements is far more even than in contemporary societies. Their religious practices emphasized harmony with nature and celestial cycles rather than the glorification of rulers or gods of war. Most remarkably, analysis of Tartessian inscriptions suggests they had developed a form of proto-democratic governance with evidence of elected councils and public assemblies, millennia before such ideas would emerge in classical Athens. In essence, Tartessos represented an alternative model of civilization, one based on trade rather than conquest, on shared prosperity rather than concentrated power, on knowledge rather than military might. And this made them a threat to the emerging imperial powers of the Mediterranean, particularly Carthage, with its rigid hierarchy and expansionist agenda. The destruction of Tartessos wasn't merely a conquest. It was the deliberate erasure of a different path that human civilization might have taken. The Carthaginians systematically destroyed their cities, melted down their artifacts, and burned their written records. They sought to remove all trace of a society that challenged their worldview. The most extraordinary discovery came in February 2025, when archaeologists working at a newly identified Tartessian sanctuary near Badajoz uncovered a sealed chamber beneath the main altar. Inside, they found a cache of inscribed metal tablets, the first substantial written records from Tartessian civilization ever discovered. Though the work is ongoing, preliminary translations have already revealed astonishing insights. One tablet describes a great meeting of wise ones, attended by men of knowledge from the lands of rising sun. The text specifically mentions visitors from the Kingdom of the Two Pillars, a phrase strikingly similar to biblical descriptions of Solomon's temple with its two distinctive pillars, Boaz and Jashin. Even more remarkable are the astronomical texts, which contain calculations of planetary movements with a precision that would not be matched in Europe until the Renaissance. The Tartessians appear to have understood the precession of the equinoxes, a subtle astronomical phenomenon with a 26,000-year cycle that was supposedly not discovered until the 2nd century BCE. But perhaps the most revolutionary revelation concerns Tartessian governance. The tablets describe a system called the Rule of Three Voices, a sophisticated form of balanced government where power was shared between elected councils of elders, assemblies of citizens, and temporary executive officials chosen by lot. This system bears a striking resemblance to modern democratic principles, yet predates Athenian democracy by centuries. The tablets also reveal why Tartessos was so thoroughly erased from history. One chronicle describes a systematic campaign by Carthage to not just conquer, but obliterate Tartessian civilization, what we would now recognize as cultural genocide. The Carthaginians saw the Tartessian model of open, knowledge-based society as a fundamental threat to their own hierarchical, militaristic system. As we stand on the brink of our own existential challenges, climate change, political polarization, technological disruption, the wisdom of Tartessos has never been more relevant. Their balanced governance, sustainable resource management, and commitment to knowledge offer a powerful alternative to the imperial models that have dominated much of human history. We have journeyed to a time when the world was young, when the boundaries between East and West, between myth and history, were not yet firmly drawn. We have seen the birth of a legend, the rise of a kingdom that served as a crucible for human knowledge and wisdom. But we have also glimpsed the fragility of our existence, the fleeting nature of even the greatest of empires. The ruins of Tartessos stand as a testament to the impermanence of all things, a reminder that even the mightiest of civilizations can be deliberately erased from the pages of history. And yet, in the face of this sobering truth, we have found hope. For the secrets of Tartessos have shown us that the human spirit is indomitable. The knowledge preserved in their sanctuaries and workshops waited patiently beneath the soil, until the world was ready to receive its wisdom once more. As we leave the ruins of Tartessos behind, we carry with us the light of its wisdom. Though the kingdom may be gone, its legacy will endure for as long as there are those willing to listen to the whispers of the past, to heed the lessons of history, to embrace the truth that lies waiting in the shadows. If this journey stirred your curiosity, if it made you question what you thought you knew, then welcome to the Adventures Past community. We dig through time, decode the silence, and shine light on what was left behind. So if you're ready for more forgotten truths and buried wonders, subscribe and join us on this exploration into the shadows of history. Tap the bell, like the video, share the mystery. Because history isn't just what happened, it's what survived.